Hey everybody, it's Paul from ScreenwritingScribe. I had a great live earlier today, and we talked about Script Studio and their new, well, I shouldn't say new, but one of their features is about character development. And I don't think I did a very good job because I was trying to interact with folks, which I always love doing. But I want to make sure that everybody I want to make sure people got to see how this tool gets used and used well. And I just wanted to make sure we went through it all, but it was sort of really disjointed on me. Again, I loved everybody who was online. S. Smith did a wonderful job. And we'll talk about one of the characters he helped me develop for this particular show that I've been working on, or at least idea that I've been working on. So if you haven't heard before, Script Studio, I'm just up on their website right now. They have it's a big competitor to Final Draft. Nice thing about Script Studio, I really love that you only have to pay a one-time fee. It's not a subscription-based model, which is most screenwriting software is tending to go to, which I get. But at the same time, I really like it that you only have to pay one price, and it's cheaper than Final Draft. It is more expensive than Fade In, but it has more tools than Fade In. And so that's one of the reasons. That's sort of your trade-off. And we're going to talk about one of the features that it has that Fade In doesn't have, or even Final Draft. Final Draft, which costs more, supposedly the industry standard, which it likes to throw out a lot. But I think you could do a lot with Script Studio. So what I'm looking at right now are some of the features, three that I'm going to just sort of highlight. Powerful outlining. In some sense, it's very similar to Final Draft. Structure. Organize your narrative, again, similar to Final Draft in some specs. I mean, it's different. They're not exactly the same thing, don't get me wrong. But the thing that sets it really far apart from Final Draft is this one right here. Develop believable characters. And that's sort of what I want to dive into today with this, is just sort of teach you how to create believable characters. Because I think so often we think, okay, this character is cool, but then we don't really know a lot about the character. And since I'm recording this in the summer of 2024, you've probably heard of the Acolyte. I think everybody in the world has. I would say they don't have good, believable characters in there because they don't know their characters so well. I would say as audience members, we don't know May or Osha very well. And it's stuff like this, using software like this, that's going to help you create characters that are memorable, help you sort of have the characters figure out what they're going to be doing through the rest of the movie or the rest of the show. I think it's important that we know who the character are, because if they do things that the characters aren't supposed to do, you're going to know that. You're going to say, hey, they're not going to say X, or they're not going to do Y, because this is who they are as a character. So let's dive into this real quickly. So I've pulled up Script Studio here, and so I've just simply, all I've done so far is basically renamed the file Space Opera 1. So sort of the genesis for this particular idea, I got done watching Star Trek The Next Generation, and I wanted to make a space opera because we don't have enough space shows that talk about exploration, and I think that's one way I want to go. It's a little different in that it's going to be more of a military future, in that, you know, like the security officer for this particular show is going to be a genetically altered soldier. I've also thought about creating a navigator that uses a psychic ability that actually bonds with the computer, and they can only do so many jumps before they need someone else to come in so they can rest psychically. There's going to be a sentient life form on board, sentient AI life form on board, and there's been previous conflict with the AIs, and so there's actually a group of AIs that are off away. There was a war fought, and so the sentient AIs are actually treated as second-class citizens, and so that's sort of some of the premise for this. And so all I'm doing today, and we'll go through and outline all this and add notes and scripts, and I'll show you how to do that with Script Studio. But today I just wanted to get a flavor on some of the characters. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at character development here. The first thing you can do is click on Story Arc. Now I'll click, this was our S. Smith did a wonderful job of coming up with, he's sort of like the Galaxy Quest type of show. I haven't figured out yet if we're going to make this sort of humorous or if we're going to do a serious one yet. So bear with me for that. But either way, it's the same. And like I said, I really appreciated all the feedback. We had a lot of fun. And that's the important thing. When you're writing, have fun. Because that's what, for me, it's a great release. It's a lot of fun. So, but I want to just point out some great features for this program to help you develop that character, and they have some great questions here. So if we just look, captain of, and I haven't figured out a good name for the ship yet. I didn't want to copy the Enterprise, and sorry, I actually used a Mid-Journey image, and I know it's got a little bit of Enterprise or Star Trek stuff in there, so don't mind this at all. But the neat thing about this is I could add my Mid-Journey image right to the program. So they have a bunch of stock images and stuff that you can use, or you can do like I did and go to Mid-Journey, create a character image, and then upload it in here. So some of the neat things to talk about is, what does the Captain of the Avenger want or need in this step? What does the Captain of the Avenger get or learn in this step? What conflict or how does this step move the Captain of the Avengers story forward? And so it's a nice thing in that you have this for each of the different characters. We have the Master Baker of the Avenger, or the funny name they have for the ship that they came up with. So you can go through each of the characters and do this and sort of tie all their arcs together, or figure out how you want their arcs to go. So this is neat because you're actually figuring out, in this particular episode or this particular film, you're figuring out where do you want your character to go. Now, when you're doing like weekly episodes, or you're doing more television, your characters tend to be the same, and so you get to take these characters who have these particular traits, and they sort of you put them in new situations, and you see how they react based on those traits. Now, in films, a good film, I should say at least, your protagonist is going to change from the beginning to the end of the film. And so, like I said, I haven't figured out yet. I sort of want to just do like a web series, so it's more like TV than a film, but you never know. I haven't gotten into writing it yet. We're just in the brainstorming session. So these are some great questions to ask, but we're not done there. We're not done there. So if we go to the next section, Character Spotlight. So again, we have our character that we can see, and we can switch between that, and we can switch between that and the baker, depending on how we want to do this. But look at all the basic questions that you can have answered that you go through. Now, the neat thing about this, you have a couple of drop-down menus. They have archetypes. So archetypes are generally how we see different characters, and so they have a good long list. You have the antagonist, the hero, the anti-hero, the ally, the mentor. However you want to, you don't have to put anything in here if you don't want to, but it gives you sort of a good idea. Okay, so if this particular character is following some type of archetype, you can at least list it. The other thing that I really love was the stereotypes. They have a ton of different stereotypes. And I wanted something a little different than Jean-Luc Picard or Captain Kirk, though. Then again, Captain Kirk is really a loose cannon. So was I really that much different? Maybe I'll have to think about. Maybe he's an investigator. Maybe I'll switch him. But then again, sort of Picard was an investigator. I'll keep working on it. But you have all these different things you can say. A unique ability, which I think is really, he's going to be cool under pressure, which sort of goes along with the investigator, or as character flaws, makes impulsive decisions when he was a loose cannon. That would be a great character flaw to have. Or maybe he's an investigator, but he doesn't give himself enough time to look at the facts. And so maybe that's where we go with that. You can, there's a bunch of other stuff to add. And we're not done there, though. We got all this other stuff. We can do a bio. We can add events from his life that have influenced him or are important to his story. We have the arc again, so we can take the arc and sort of put it in here. So we can say, okay, we want him to go from point A to point B. And then we also have notes. And the note I put in here is I don't want him to be like Picard or Kirk. So that's something that I have to keep in mind as I'm creating this particular character. Now, here's the other part. So if you're still wondering, well, how do I know who this is? You can actually interview the character. So you can, like I'm looking at the second question, does the Captain of the Avenger have any brothers or sisters? If so, what are their names and occupations? Or where did the Captain of the Avenger learn most of his skills and other abilities from? So you can really flesh out your character. So that way, when you are looking at your character, now the nice thing is they can do novels with this particular software as well too, is you can really begin to flesh out who your character is. So that way, if a fork comes up in the writing that you're doing, you're like, okay, what is my character going to do? You're going to have this character so fleshed out, you're going to be like, okay, they're going to do X, I don't have any doubt about it. Or after thinking about it for a couple minutes and I look at their perspective and who they are and what they represent, I'm like, they're really going to do this other part. Or this is how they're going to act in this situation. So I really like this as well too. Then you have relationships. And the funny one for the baker is I have him. So the fun part when I was talking to S. Smith about this was he said there was a rolling pin incident that will not be named between the baker and the captain of the Avenger. Like I said, we were just being a little silly, but it just shows again how easy and fluid this program is about how to use stuff. And then so you can do this depending on how many other different characters you have. You can easily go in to this and create their different relationship dynamics and stuff like that. Totally love that. Wish Final Draft would have that. That's why I really like Script Studio for this. And finally, now when we have dialogue present within the script, we're going to be able to see that. I haven't created anything yet, but when we get to that point, we'll be able to come back here and look at this. And you can see all the different dialogues. So you can see if he's speaking with a common voice, a common tone, a common way, a consistent voice for all of his dialogue lines. So this is nice too, as if you're trying to figure out, okay, is this character saying what they should be saying? All of a sudden they get a southern twang. Well, why did they get that? Or maybe I should add that. Or, you know, it looks, as you look at the line, it keeps your character consistent to who they are. And one of the bad things about modern cinema is the characters are very bland. The characters, especially if you look at the Acolyte, flip from thing to thing, and I don't know what hardly any of them stand for. And so doing something like this is going to allow you to make complex characters that are ones that we're going to want to dive into as an audience, so that we understand them. They're like, oh, cool, this is neat. And I think that's something that is lacking right now. So one of the reasons I really like this tool. All right, so then I'm just going to simply click out of this. And the last feature is a name wizard. You can create your names. You can select different names. You can create different names. It starts with FA. And they have a bunch of different names that you can look at. Gender, Irish, ruler, and it tells you what their meaning is. You know, Fabian. We can look down. Actually, let's look up Blake, because I was thinking of calling him Blake at one point in time. We can take a look down. You know, fair-haired, pallid, blonde, Blakey. Blake means fair-haired. So, you know, this is a wonderful tool that you can use to help you figure out names for your characters as well, too. So just a lot of wonderful things with Script Studio. So that's character development. That's one of the things I think is really super about Script Studio. So like always, I say kick the tires. They do have a free version of the software you can try. Just know that the free version doesn't have everything. I don't think you're going to be able to access everything like I'm able to with this particular, because I got the paid version. So just so you're aware of that, but it can give you a flavor of these different things. Now, maybe this is important to you, maybe it's not. And so that's the other thing you need to figure out in terms of screenwriting software. As I said on my live stream earlier today, the most important screenwriter software is the software that's going to allow you to write. You know, I think that's the most important thing. Even as I talk about Script Studio, I think the important thing is any software that you feel most comfortable to write. And I think this one does a good job of empowering people, but only you know what works best for you. So find out what works best for you. If you have a question about Script Studio, leave it in the comment section below. Or if you're looking for a different type of screenwriting software, also leave that below. Till the next video, live well, and as you know it, write well. Talk to you soon.